Antoine Bell, moral coldness, selfish calculation, and the inevitable awakening of responsibility. The Testimony of the Spirit. Antoine Bell, presented in the second part of Heaven and Hell, reveals a spiritual state marked by moral coldness, selfish calculation, and a deliberate absence of empathy. Unlike spirits dominated by impulses or uncontrolled emotions, Antoine Bell represents the consciousness that chose to act with intellectual lucidity, but without ethical commitment, believing that isolated reason could justify everything. Antoine Bell manifests with full lucidity, preserved memory, and intact rational capacity. In life, he guided his decisions by personal interests, convenience, and advantage, avoiding emotional involvement and minimizing the impact of his actions on others. After passing, this stance proves unsustainable. The awakened consciousness realizes that reason, when dissociated from morality, does not protect from spiritual responsibility. Modern depth psychology helps to understand this picture. Personalities that develop emotional detachment and excessive rationalization tend to reduce empathy as a self-protection mechanism. This pattern may work socially for a time, but it comes at a high price when consciousness is confronted with the totality of its consequences. On the spiritual plane, where empathy expands, coldness transforms into moral suffering. Spiritism clarifies that Antoine Bell's suffering is not an imposed punishment, but a direct result of lucidity without compassion. He begins to feel clearly the effects of his calculated choices, now without the buffers of material life. Consciousness recognizes that it avoided human involvement to preserve advantages, but discovers that no one is exempt from the law of cause and effect by intelligence. Modern science reinforces this reading by showing that cognitive intelligence does not equate to moral intelligence. Studies in moral psychology indicate that ethical decisions require integration between reason, empathy, and values. When this integration fails, utilitarian behaviors emerge that disregard human impact. On the spiritual level, this failure manifests as emptiness, isolation, and inner suffering. Another striking point of the testimony is the breaking of the illusion of neutrality. Antoine Bell believed he was neutral, practical, and rational. After death, he discovers that empathetic omission is also a moral choice. Not directly harming does not mean not causing harm. Indifference, when conscious, produces consequences as real as deliberate action. Spiritism teaches that this state is not definitive. As Antoine Bell recognizes that true reason includes responsibility for others, a process of re-education of consciousness begins. Suffering exists as long as intelligence resists integrating moral values. When reason aligns with empathy, progress becomes possible. This testimony offers a timely and necessary warning. In a culture that often values efficiency, advantage, and calculation, Antoine Bell's account reminds us that external success does not replace moral coherence. Consciousness is not sustained solely by arguments, it is sustained by lived values. Antoine Bell teaches us that intelligence that ignores ethics turns against itself. True lucidity is not cold, it is responsible. Spiritual progress requires that reason learns to serve consciousness, not to justify it. Reflecting on this account is an invitation to inner integration, using intelligence to build, considering the impact of one's own choices, and developing conscious empathy is now the safest way to avoid unnecessary future suffering. Awareness grows when it combines mental clarity and moral commitment. If this testimony helped you reflect on reason, empathy, and spiritual responsibility, like, share, and leave your comment. Your participation helps this message reach more people.